All right. Now, we're having a fascinating conversation, talking to the wife of the former
Chief of Staff, Marine Atlantic, head of the intelligence group that went to Beirut. They were already meeting over there. He was before the Beirut bombing. The NATO intelligence wet operations guy, psychological operations guy.
Okay, now when you refer to wet operations, W-E-T, does that stand for something?
Yes, it means murder assassinations groups. Oh. NATO has a group of assassins and psychological operations specialists who work in combined operations to destroy targets.
Okay.
The highest levels of the Marine Corps and the Army in those special operations levels, the individuals are actually in the mob. New Jersey.
You're talking about the mafia type mob?
I'm talking about the Brooklyn, New Jersey mob. My husband, Al Gray, Sheehan, they're all Brooklyn. Cap Weinberger. Heinz Kissinger, there's the Boston mob, which was shipping weapons back and forth to Northern Ireland. And I don't want to get too deeply involved in that, but it goes, Israel, some of the Zionists who came over from Germany, according to my husband, were, see, he works with those people. They do a lot of money laundering in the banks, cash transactions for the drugs that they're bringing over through Latin America, the Southern Mafia, the Dixie Mafia, which is now my husband's involved with in Miami. The military are all involved once they retire. They're, they go into this drug and secondary weapons sales. Take the whole Iraqi thing over because they had been baiting, using the Israeli rogues in Turkey. They were having little zigzag wars. It's all to sell weapons. It's all about weapon sales. It's all about drugs. It's all about funny money.
Making money.
Of course, for doing criminal activities, selling weapons, going through Tel Aviv, the bank in Rome, selling the weapons illegally. The Israeli agents are the middlemen, and all the money's going to Israel. It really is the truth. The money, not just the money that is given to them, free and clear, but all the black budget money that Meyer Lansky's group started back in the 40s has been growing and growing and growing. It's like a pyramid scheme. And the Jesuits, I've been told, are really controlled by this group now. I don't,
Now surely Ollie North is a good guy.
And the admiral, they would go to these parties at this big mansion outside of Marseille. What they did was they invited the wild girls, the secretaries, because this went on in Indonesia. My husband had a secretary. Now, how does that make a young guy feel who's got a child? He's guarding an orgy with Israelis. There were Israelis at these parties. Intelligence people. Intelligence? There's not intelligence there. There's perversion. There's psychological, group of men, 7 men, one of whom is head of intelligence, is head of computers and the intelligence for the Army, Ron Jarmuth. Now, Ron Jarmuth comes right out and says, I'm an anarchist. His family are New York, old Zionist Jews. He met his wife, I think, in a kibbutz. He's a nice, personable guy, but when you say to somebody like me, I'm an anarchist, just so blithely, and and he's always over at Ern's house. And Ern's got a picture by his bedstead drawn by a man who's a known homosexual whom he met, or the mob. The one thing I've been able to determine about the current Marine Corps, the Marine Corps that my husband came in with, Gray, Reap, Sheehan, they're all mob.
Now, when you say mob, you're talking mafia type mob?
New Jersey mafia, right. Right.
And there's a...
Brooklyn, New Jersey.
Okay, is the mob and this military bunch, they're one and the same?
The Marine Corps guys are the hitmen, and they're mercenaries. They'll work for anybody. You think the Marine Corps is under the Navy? No way. They can just as easily be under an Army colonel, and if the Army colonel meets a Marine Corps colonel, the Army colonel is superior. They'll switch hats just like that. My husband said it's just, no big a deal. I'll go work for the State Department. I don't really. The Marine Corps is just it's like a smoke and mirrors thing. And they're run out of New Orleans. 4th Marine, Oswald. They are not, on his level, he said, we've never been an enemy of the Soviet Union. We've never been an enemy of the Soviet Union. We've never been an enemy of the Soviet Union.
He said, Mr. Dodd, all of us that have a hand in the making of policies here have had experience, either with the OSS during the war or the European Economic Administration after the war. We've had experience operating under directives. And these directives emanate, and did emanate, from the White House. Now, we still operate under just such directives. Would you like to know what the substance of these directives is? And I said, yes, Mr. Gaither, I'd like very much to know Whereupon he made this statement to me, namely, Mr. Dodd, we here operate on in response to similar directives, the substance of which is that we shall use our grant-making power so to alter life in the United States that it can be comfortably merged with the Soviet Union. Well, parenthetically, Mr. Griffin, I nearly fell off the chair.
They work with these communists. The man who started this whole intelligence operation, the OSS, he was recruiting known communists who were involved in the Spanish subverting Spain. You know what? There's no more. They're not Americans. They're not Christians. They're German existentialists. Now, what are they doing running our nation? It's kind of, they have more affinity for the state of Israel right now than they do our nation. They don't care about American citizens. Just Colby, I spoke with personally on the phone. 2 weeks later, he was murdered. He went to Princeton. My husband knew him. He knew my husband. He told me, Colby told me that...
This is General Colby?
No, this is William Colby, who was head of the CIA.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Who was murdered in a...
so-called building
I know exactly how that happened because, you see, the SEAL teams 6, 4, 6, and 8 are on the East Coast, and then the odd numbers are on the West Coast. And some of the people who are affiliated with the SEALs... I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to say it. But
well, it wouldn't be hard for a SEAL to come from underwater and tip the boat over and make sure the man's dead, that sort of thing?
The Israelis train with the SEALs. They do a lot of wet ops, murders, over here. Captain Guy, Admiral Geis, took over the command of the Forrestal. He was the head of the whole, everything for the military when the Liberty was bombarded by the Israelis.
Right.
And one of my best friends, Josie Toth Lennon, you talk about a wonderful... she's been through a lot, woman. I've learned a lot of information from her. Josie's brother was on that ship.
Did he survive?
Of course, no, he was murdered. He was a rising star, brilliant young boy.
I think about 30-some guys died on the SS Liberty, didn't they?
He was one of them. It's now being run by a group that's holding it down. You know, they don't want it. Why don't you? Those Israelis, and yet every Jewish person who's in the military is a member of that army, whatever it is. Now, something is very strange here. When you have the whole State Department, not one Christian, not one Protestant in the Near East section, not one Muslim, why not? They have Jews there, we have Muslims in the Navy. Why are there no Muslims in the Near East section of the State Department? Why are there no born-again Christians or real honest people who are not under some chain of command? Why don't we have anybody who can decide right and wrong, who has to be interpreted, you know? Something is strange when you have a State Department that is run by Israel. There's something really strange. It's no wonder there's no peace. Do they want peace? No. They want to control all those little countries around there. The taxpayers are paying young men who are not citizens of the United States to kill innocent people, women and children. They get on a flight from Norfolk and Oceana. They fly to Stuttgart, and I was told this is what they do. Then they go by a special helicopter to countries like Turkey, like the part of Iraq, to Algeria, to parts of Africa. And they do wet ops. They'll just, murder 5, 10, 20 people. And then they blame it on the Arabs, or they blame it on somebody else, and they do wet ops. They'll just, murder 5, 10, 20 people. And then they blame it on the Arabs, or they blame it on somebody else. For Al Gray. Al Gray he pulls the strings. It's all New Jersey mob. Where do you think Al Gray was born? Right outside of Atlantic City. My husband was born in Atlantic City. Sheehan's father was in the mob. You remember that big concert that they had back in the 60s, where everybody was smoking pot and they were doing experiments on young people? They had all the public...
Yeah, I forget the name of it.
Who did all the flying of all the bands and the drug dealers and everything? Who arranged it all? General Sheehan's father.
Oh,
This is the head.
Woodstock.
Woodstock, New York. That's where he's from. Now, isn't that unusual that the head of NATO would be... And his brother is doing all kinds of weapons deals and selling things to the military. And I went to his wife's home, who lived in the Virginia house, after my husband disappeared.
Well, was Woodstock kind of a
Of course, a testing ground for drugs.
Okay.
Of course, it was just an experiment, like the Jim Jones thing down there in...
Canada.
Yeah, he was working. I think even little David Koresh was used because he had a Mossad, he had an Israeli agent. They always get away, don't they? The Israelis always are in there, but they get away, don't they? Mandela. I don't mean Mandela. The guy in Panama.
Noriega.
Noriega he was an Israeli double agent. Anybody who is Jewish is automatically a member of the army, Israeli army. They have a joint relationship. How can they be loyal to America if they will shoot ships like the Liberty, and it's covered up. They always get away, don't they? The Israelis always are in there, but they get away, don't they?
Who won't mention a good old Bill Cooper, who won't mention an Ezra Pound, a Eustace Mullins. They never go into the past. They never talk about the classics who brought us here. We stand on the shoulders of giants. We need to discuss that as we go into this very long, long show. But before we go on, ladies and gentlemen, let us attend.